Chullin Daf Gimel, we were discussing the leaven in the kidney. It's the white fat that's in the kidney. There's machlekes whether you have to take it out completely or just scrape off the top. Says Abaye, it makes sense like Ravasi that you just take it off from the top because we have a halacha that fat that's surrounded by meat, the ksalim, the muscle on the outside of the animal that surrounds the chaylev inside is mutter. So since chaylev inside meat is mutter, so chaylev that's inside the kidney should be completely mutter. The reason why chaylev that's under the loins, which seems like, as you can see in the picture, seems like it's surrounded completely by meat. So why is it asur? Says Abai, the reason is because you're right, when you fillet an animal, you open it up, it looks like it's surrounded by meat. However, when the animal walks around, it flexes the muscles and the meat to the point where the chaylev is sometimes exposed and is not surrounded completely from all sides. And Rabbi Yochanan said, in fact, I am not a butcher, I'm not a son of a butcher, but I remember in yeshiva, they said this svara that Abaye said. Now we're going to learn a whole bunch of halachas that Shmuel said and others said when it comes to chaylev. The halacha is that when the Torah says chaylev amachasis akerev, says Shmuel, it's referring to the chaylev that's on the hemsis and the beis hakaisis, which in English translates to the reticulum and the masum, and the chaylev that's on the klibusta is what the Torah calls ksalim, which is isur karas to eat. Shmuel says chutim. When the Gemara refers to chutim, the Gemara is referring to blood vessels, to nerves, the offshoots that come off of chaylev go into certain areas of the body. So these offshoots that go into the yad, the Gemara calls it what we would refer to as the shoulder, they are asur, but not because of chaylev, but rather because of dam. We're worried that there's blood still in those vessels. Just interesting to point out that the Gemara, Rav Safra, told Rav Abba Moshe, he called him Moshe, meaning you're a Talmud Chacham, and Rava took offense to that and he called Rav Safra back, you're Moshe, you're the Talmud Chacham, and it's not because of chaylev, it's because of dam, etc. But the word Moshe was interesting. It says the Gemara, another halacha from Shmuel, that you have to peel off 1 amma long of chaylev, that's about 2 feet of chaylev from where the intestines start, and another halacha that these chutim, these blood vessels that come down from the end of the spine, the hip of the animal, they're asur. And says the Gemara, very interesting, if you were to remove these chutim immediately after shechita, they all come out easy, and if you were to wait until the animal cools down, then you would have to count how many chutim there are. There are 12 chutim, and you have to make sure you have all 12, otherwise you have to start cutting it up and looking for them. Says Abaye, there are 5 chutim. 3 are because of chaylev, and there's nothing you can do about them. That is the spleen, the flanks, and the kidney. But there are 2 that we just discussed, the shoulder and also the jaw, that are also because of blood, and therefore there's a takana, you could just cut them open and salt them. There are, once we're talking about 5, there are 5 membranes, like a thin layer of skin, a see-through skin. 3 of them are the spleen, flanks, and the kidney again. They are asur because of chaylev, and we're going to get into the kidney soon. And the membrane around the beitzim and the brain are also because of blood, and again, they have a way out of it. Says the Gemara that beitzim that are less than on a 30-day-old animal, up until the point where the zera comes into the beitzim, and how do you know if the zera came in? If it has red streaks, it's completely mutter. The membrane that's on the spleen, at one area called the dad, that comes out of the spleen, that's an isur karas. The rest of the membrane is only asim d'Rabbanan. There's no karas. The upper membrane on the kidney, that is considered part of the chaylev, and that's a isur d'oraisa karas. The membrane that separates the kidney from the chaylev, that's considered more like the kidney, and it's only asim d'Rabbanan. The Gemara says there's a concept where the beitzim get detached from the body of the animal but remain inside the sack. Those beitzim, the machlekes Rabami and Ravasi. The svar to say that it's asur because it's ever menachai, it's detached from the animal while it's alive. And the fact is that it's never going to heal. The svar to say that it's mutter is because you see that it hasn't spoiled, it doesn't smell, so it still has some life to it. Yes, it's weak, but it's still there. There's a concept of minhag aviseinu biyodenu we see from our Gemara, minhag aviseinu biyodenu, and al titosh teres simechad. Rabbi Yochanan told Rav Shemen, that although he's now in Eretz Yisrael and they are not makbid, they eat these eggs that are detached from the animal, but since he comes from Bavel, he has to continue with his minhag of Bavel. Says the Gemara, the entire Torah, there's a machlokes between Ravina and Ravacha, and Ravina is always the one that says the more lenient opinion, and therefore the halacha is like him. Besides, in these three cases where the halacha will be like Ravacha because he's lenient. What are the cases? They're all three the same case basically, but three different things. You have a piece of meat that has a ruptured blood vessel in it, or beitzim, or the blood vessels on the neck. So we're concerned that the blood will remain inside these vessels. So if you cut them open and you salt them, not a problem. If you put it on a skewer, not a problem. The problem is when you put them on coals. Do the coals create a situation where the blood comes out of them and therefore you're allowed to eat it? Or does the coal create a situation where the blood stays inside and it's usr? The way they would remove here from the head of the animal, they would soak it in water and then put it on hot ashes. So the question is, does the blood stay in or not? Says the Gemara, if the cut of the neck is towards the ashes, so all the blood could drip out, then it's mutter. If you put the head sideways, then it's usr. And if you put it on its nostrils, so if you keep the nostrils open, like mashal, the football players today, they have this device that keeps their nostrils open, that would be mutter. The Gid HaNasha, going back to Gid HaNasha, so there's two gidim on the thigh. The Gid HaNasha, the sciatic nerve, which is in the inside of the thigh, the inner thigh. So the Gemara describes it as it goes on the bone. But sometimes the Gemara describes it as it goes on the basar. Says the Gemara, really that's reserved for the Gid HaChitzon, going on the basar. But sometimes we call the Gid HaNasha on the basar because it's like a key, it's offshoots, it's kanoiknois, the tendrils go inside the basar, so that's why it's called a basar. And when we're talking about the Gid HaChitzon, which is asar, but there's no karas, so the Gemara describes it as going on the basar, but sometimes the Gemara calls it going on the bone because that's where the butcher would cut it to separate the hip from the thigh. Any butcher that you found that he wasn't careful with removing chaylev and he left a kazayis chaylev in the animal, even if it's in three different places, he gets malchus. And if he only left a kesa'ira in one place, then we remove him from his job. And we had in the Mishnah a question whether or not a butcher is believed to say that he removed the Gid HaNasha. Says the Gemara, today a butcher is believed either because in the beginning we pass him like Rabbi Meir that you have to go dig deep down into it and it's very difficult to remove, so he's not believed. And then later on we said like Rabbi Yehuda that you don't have to dig deep down, you just have to even it out, and therefore a butcher is believed. Or the opposite. The halacha used to be like Rabbi Yehuda that it's not a big deal, just smooth it out. Then we said the halacha is like Rabbi Meir, they have to go deep down. So when the butchers were used to Rabbi Yehuda's halacha, so they kept on saying, yeah, but I know the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. But once generations passed by, and we forgot about Rabbi Yehuda, so butchers know that the halacha is like Rabbi Meir, they have to dig deep down, and it's hard work, so then a butcher is believed to say that he removed the Gid HaNasha. Have a wonderful day.